In the heart of Central Asia, far from the great capitals of Europe and the Middle East, a man rose from the dust of the steppe. He was not born as an emperor. He was not the son of a world-conquering king. And he did not inherit the throne of Genghis Khan. Yet in time, sultans, khans, kings, cities, and entire empires would tremble before his name. In the West, he became known as Tamerlane, Timur the Lame. But behind that name was one of the most feared and brilliant conquerors the medieval world had ever seen. His body carried wounds. His enemies mocked his limp. But what they saw as weakness, Timur turned into legend. He would build an empire not only with swords and cavalry, but with patience, intelligence, fear, and absolute ambition. To some, he was a genius of war. To others, a destroyer of cities. And to history, he remains one of its most unsettling figures.
From the plains near Samarkand, Timur would march across Persia, India, Russia, Syria, and Anatolia. He would defeat rival khans. He would break great cities. He would face the Ottoman Sultan Bayezid, known as the Thunderbolt. And near the end of his life, even China became his target. But before the empire, before the terror, before the legend, there was only a boy from the steppe.
Chapter 1. The Boy from the Steppe.
Timur was born in 1336 near Kesh, close to Samarkand, in the region known as Transoxiana. Today, this land belongs to Uzbekistan, but in Timur's time, it was a world of tribes, warlords, broken loyalties, and fading Mongol power. The great empire of Genghis Khan had already fractured. Its memory remained powerful, but its unity was gone. And in that broken world, ambition could become a weapon. Timur was not born into the highest royal bloodline. He was born into uncertainty, and uncertainty would become his school. To understand Timur, we must first understand the shadow he lived under, the shadow of Genghis Khan. More than a century before Timur's rise, Genghis Khan had created the largest land empire the world had ever seen. Even after that empire fragmented, his name still carried political power across the steppe. In many parts of Central Asia, the right to rule was connected to Chinggisid blood, descent from Genghis Khan. Timur did not possess that sacred bloodline, and this was his first great obstacle. He could win battles, he could gather followers, but to rule, he needed legitimacy. So, from an early stage, Timur learned one of the most important lessons of power. Sometimes the symbol of authority is just as important as authority itself. Timur understood what he lacked. He did not have the perfect royal ancestry, so he built a different kind of power. He formed alliances, he married into influence, he supported Chinggisid figures when their names were useful. And behind the symbols of tradition, he quietly gathered real control. This was not the rise of a simple warrior. This was the rise of a political mind. Timur learned that power could be borrowed, staged, and manufactured. The throne might belong to another name, but the army, the decisions, and the future would belong to him.
The steppe was a harsh teacher. There, loyalty could change with the wind. A friend could become a rival could become an ally, and a weak leader could disappear overnight. Timur grew up in a world where survival required more than courage. It required observation, patience, memory, and the ability to read men before they revealed themselves. This was where Timur's mind was sharpened, not in a palace, not in a school of kings, but in a world where every promise had a price, and every mistake could be fatal. What made Timur dangerous was not only his ambition. Many men were ambitious. What made him different was discipline. He could wait, he could calculate, he could endure humiliation if it served a greater purpose. And when the moment came, he could strike with terrifying certainty. Long before he ruled an empire, Timur learned how men followed power.
Some followed bloodline, some followed wealth, some followed fear. But the strongest followed victory, and Timur would give them victory. Again and again. The boy from Kesh was not yet the conqueror of cities. He was not yet the master of Samarkand. He was not yet the terror of kings. But the foundations had been laid. A fractured world had taught him politics. The steppe had taught him survival. And the shadow of Genghis Khan had taught him the value of legitimacy. Soon, another part of his legend would emerge. A wound, a limp, a weakness that his enemies would remember, until it became the very name by which history would know him. Tamerlane. Timur the Lame.
But Timur's legend was not built only on ambition. It was also built on pain. A wound that should have weakened him, but instead made his name unforgettable. Chapter 2. The wound that became a legend. Every great conqueror has a name. But Timur's name carried a wound. In the West, he became known as Tamerlane, Timur the Lame. The name was meant to describe his body, but history would remember something far more dangerous than a limp. It would remember a man who refused to be defined by weakness, a man whose enemies saw damage and failed to understand discipline. In the brutal world of the steppe, weakness was dangerous. A wounded man could be dismissed, a limping warrior could be underestimated, and a commander who did not appear physically perfect could be mocked by men who judged power only by what they could see. But Timur's strength was never only in his body. It was in his patience, his memory, his silence, his ability to wait until his enemies revealed their own weakness. They noticed the limp. They did not notice the mind behind it. Pain changes a man. For some, it becomes bitterness. For others, it becomes fear. But for Timur, pain became discipline. A wounded body teaches caution. A hard life teaches patience. And a dangerous world teaches that survival belongs not to the strongest man in the room, but to the one who understands when to move. Timur learned to observe before acting, to listen before speaking, to retreat without shame, and to strike without hesitation. His wound did not make him gentle. It made him precise. Many commanders trusted speed. Others trusted numbers. Some trusted courage. Timur trusted preparation. Before a battle, he studied the land. He studied the enemy. He studied pride, fear, hunger, ambition, and betrayal. For Timur, a battlefield was not only a place of swords and horses, it was a place of psychology. If an enemy could be frightened, he would frighten him. If an enemy could be divided, he would divide him. If an enemy could be lured forward, he would wait. And when the trap closed, Timur moved like fate itself. As Timur's victories grew, so did the stories around him. Some stories were true, some were exaggerated, some were born from fear. But Timur understood the value of reputation. A ruler who is feared before he arrives has already won half the battle. His limp became part of the image. His silence became part of the image. His punishments became part of the image. And slowly, the man became larger that carried him. Before Timur reached a city, his name arrived first. And sometimes, that was enough. There is a strange power in surviving what should have broken you. Timur's wound marked him, but it did not reduce him. Instead, it became proof that he had endured, proof that he had suffered, proof that he could carry damage and still command men into war. His enemies might laugh at the limp, but they would not laugh for long, because the man they underestimated would become the commander they feared, and the weakness they remembered would become the legend they could not escape. By itself, a wound does not create greatness. But in Timur's life, the wound became a symbol, a reminder that he had survived, a warning that he could not be dismissed, and a mask behind which one of the sharpest political minds of the age was taking shape. The boy from the steppe had become a wounded warrior. The wounded warrior would become a commander. But to rule the world of the steppe, victory alone was not enough. Timur needed something greater. He needed legitimacy. And for that, he would turn to the most powerful name in the history of the steppe, Genghis Khan. Timur's enemies saw his limp as weakness, but he turned it into a symbol of survival, discipline, and fear. But in the world of the steppe, fear was not enough. To rule, Timur needed legitimacy, and the greatest source of legitimacy was the shadow of Genghis Khan.
Chapter 3. The Shadow of Genghis Khan.
Long before Timur became a conqueror, another name ruled the imagination of the steppe: Genghis Khan. More than a century had passed since his death. His empire had fractured. His descendants fought among themselves. But his name still carried a sacred kind of power. Across the steppe, bloodline mattered. To rule openly, a man was expected to carry the lineage of Genghis Khan. Timur did not, and that single fact shaped the entire architecture of his power. He could win battles, he could command armies, he could terrify cities. But in the political world he lived in, conquest alone was not always enough. To rule, he needed a story. And the greatest story of the steppe still belonged to Genghis Khan. In Timur's world, power was not only military, it was symbolic. A ruler needed soldiers, wealth, allies, and victories, but he also needed legitimacy. Among the Turco-Mongol elites, descent from Genghis Khan carried enormous political weight. It was more than ancestry, it was a language of authority. A man with the right bloodline could claim a throne more easily than a man with only a sword. Timur had the sword, he had ambition, he had talent, but he did not have the blood of Genghis Khan. So he faced a problem that would have stopped many men. How could he rule a world that believed true kingship belonged to someone else? Timur's solution was brilliant. If he could not become a Chinggisid ruler by blood, he would rule through Chinggisid symbols. He supported Khans who carried the sacred lineage. Their names could sit upon the throne. Their ancestry could satisfy tradition. But behind the ceremony, Timur held the real power. He commanded the armies. He controlled the alliances. He made the decisions. The state appeared to honor the old order, but in practice, a new master was rising behind it. The throne had one face, power had another, and that other face belonged to Timur. Timur also understood the power of marriage. In the world of steppe politics, marriage was not only personal, it was diplomatic. It joined families, it connected claims, it turned alliances into blood relationships. Through marriage into the family of Genghis Khan's descendants, Timur strengthened his political position and adopted the title Gurkhani, son-in-law. It was not the same as being born a Chinggisid, but it allowed him to stand closer to that sacred line, closer to its prestige, closer to its authority. Timur knew that conquest could give him land, but legitimacy gave him obedience. And obedience was what transformed victories into empire. This was one of Timur's greatest political skills. He did not openly destroy the old tradition. He used it. He did not need to erase the memory of Genghis Khan. He needed to stand beneath it, close enough for its shadow to cover him. By keeping Chinggisid symbols alive, Timur reassured the elites around him. By controlling the army, he ensured that no symbol could challenge him. It was a delicate balance. Too much disrespect for tradition could provoke rebellion. Too much dependence on tradition could weaken him. So Timur walked between both dangers. He honored the past and controlled the present. Timur's image was carefully constructed. He was a commander, but he also presented himself as a defender of order, a protector of faith, a punisher of rebellion. A ruler chosen not by royal blood alone, but by success, discipline, and divine favor. This was not accidental.
Every empire needs a story about why it should exist. Timur's story was built from many pieces: the prestige of Genghis Khan, the authority of Islam, the loyalty of soldiers, the fear of enemies, and the glory of victory. Together, these pieces created something powerful enough to hold an empire together, at least while Timur lived. Timur did not inherit the blood of Genghis Khan, but he understood how to use its shadow better than anyone around him. But Timur did not want to be remembered only as a man of war and borrowed legitimacy. He needed a capital that would make his power visible, a city of domes, gardens, wealth, and glory. Samarkand. Chapter 4. Samarkand, the City of Glory. Timur had learned how to survive the steppe. He had learned how to turn weakness into legend. He had learned how to use the shadow of Genghis Khan. But now, he needed something greater. A conqueror could win battles, a warlord could gather armies, but an emperor needed a capital, a place where power could be seen, a place where wealth, faith, fear, and glory could become stone, tile, and color. For Timur, that place was Samarkand. Samarkand was more than a city. It was a message. Every conqueror takes land, but Timur wanted the world to see what his conquests had created. The wealth of Persia, the skills of craftsmen, the labor of conquered peoples, the ambition of a ruler who wanted his capital to outshine every rival. Samarkand became the stage on which Timur displayed his greatness. To enter the city was to enter the imagination of an emperor. Its domes rose like blue fire against the sky. Its markets carried goods from distant lands. Its buildings told visitors one thing before Timur ever spoke. This was not the camp of a raider. This was the heart of an empire. Timur's empire was built by conquest, but Samarkand was built by the hands of many worlds. From the cities he conquered, Timur brought architects, artists, metalworkers, calligraphers, tile makers, builders, and scholars. Some came willingly, many did not. Their skills were gathered like treasure, and in Samarkand, those skills were forced into a single imperial vision. This is one of the great contradictions of Timur. He could destroy a city with terrifying brutality, then take its finest minds and hands to build another. Out of suffering, he created splendor. Out of conquest, he created beauty. And the beauty was meant to serve his name. The architecture of Samarkand spoke a language of power. Blue domes, towering portals, geometric patterns, verses in calligraphy. Courtyards designed to overwhelm the visitor. Nothing was accidental. A ruler like Timur understood that fear could win obedience, but beauty could win memory. An army could force a city to surrender, but a monument could force generations to remember who built it. Samarkand was Timur's answer to time. He knew that men die, armies scatter, empires fracture, but stone can continue speaking long after the ruler is gone. Samarkand stood at the crossroads of worlds. Caravans moved through its gates carrying silk, spices, metalwork, horses, paper, jewels, and stories. Merchants brought news from China. Travelers carried rumors from Persia. Envoys came from distant courts. The city became a meeting place of languages, goods, and ambitions. For Timur, this mattered. Control of trade meant wealth. Control of roads meant influence. Control of Samarkand meant that the empire had a center from which power could radiate in every direction. The city was not only beautiful, it was strategic. It connected conquest to commerce, and commerce to empire. This is why Timur remains so difficult to understand. He was not only a destroyer, and he was not only a builder. He was both. The same ruler who brought terror to distant cities also filled Samarkand with art, architecture, gardens, scholars, and craftsmen. The same ambition that burned through empires also raised monuments of astonishing beauty. To admire Samarkand is not to excuse Timur's violence, but to study Timur honestly, we must face the contradiction. He understood destruction, but he also understood legacy. He knew how to break the world, and he knew how to make the broken world serve his glory. When foreign envoys entered Samarkand, they were not meant to see an ordinary city. They were meant to see power arranged like theater. The gates, the soldiers, the palaces, the markets, the ceremonies, the buildings rising above the streets like declarations of destiny. Everything told the visitor that Timur was not a temporary warlord. He was a ruler of world historical ambition. Samarkand was his mirror. And in that mirror, Timur wanted the world to see not a wounded man from the steppe, but an emperor. Samarkand became the jewel of Timur's world, a city of color, wealth, movement, and memory. It showed what his ambition could build, but it also raised a darker question. How was such glory paid for? Behind the blue domes stood the roads of conquest. Behind the markets stood the wealth of defeated cities. Behind the beauty stood a system of fear. Timur had built Samarkand to show the world his greatness. But the empire that fed it was not built by beauty. It was built by war. And war, under Timur, became a language of terror. Timur did not build Samarkand only as a capital. He built it as a monument to his own power. But the glory of Samarkand came at a terrible price. Behind the blue domes and golden markets stood the darker engine of Timur's empire, fear.
Chapter 5. The Empire Built on Fear.
Timur understood something many rulers never did. Fear could travel faster than armies. A city that resisted might force him into battle, but a city that surrendered out of fear could be taken without one. As his victories multiplied, stories spread across Asia. Stories of destroyed armies, stories of fallen rulers, stories of cities that had challenged him and paid a terrible price. Whether every story was true no longer mattered. The fear itself had become a weapon. Timur rarely wanted long sieges. They cost time, they cost money, they cost momentum. Instead, he offered cities a choice: submit and live under his rule, resist and become an example. This strategy worked again and again. Many rulers discovered that Timur was fighting not only with cavalry and steel, he was fighting inside their minds. By the time his banners appeared on the horizon, the battle for morale had often already been won. To modern eyes, Timur's methods seemed brutal, and often they were. But from Timur's perspective, fear was efficiency. Fear reduced resistance. Fear accelerated conquest. Fear protected momentum. It helped transform a regional warlord into the ruler of one of the largest empires of his age. Samarkand displayed his glory, but fear built the roads that led to it. And soon, Timur would face one of the greatest military challenges of his life. A former ally, a powerful rival, a man named Toktamish. Timur did not rely on fear because he enjoyed it. He used fear because it worked.
Chapter 6. The Breaker of the Golden Horde.
Among all the rulers Timur defeated, one stood apart: Toktamish. Years earlier, Timur had helped him rise to power. With Timur's support, Toktamish reunited much of the Golden Horde and became one of the most powerful rulers of the Eurasian steppe. But success changed everything. Ambition replaced gratitude, alliance turned into rivalry, and soon the two strongest men of the steppe were preparing for war. Timur had helped create a king. Now he would have to destroy him. The conflict that followed reshaped Eurasia. Timur's armies defeated Toktamish again and again. Cities burned, trade routes collapsed. The power of the Golden Horde began to crumble. For generations, the Golden Horde had dominated the northern steppe. Now its foundations were breaking apart. Timur had not merely defeated an enemy, he had altered the balance of power across an entire continent. Long after both rulers were gone, the consequences of their war would continue to shape history.
Chapter 7. The Road to India. By the late 14th century, Timur's empire stretched across much of Central Asia and Persia. Yet he was not satisfied. To the south lay India, a land known for its immense wealth, thriving cities, and powerful rulers. For Timur, India represented more than treasure. It represented prestige, another victory, another chance to prove that no kingdom was beyond his reach. And so, in 1398, he began one of the most ambitious campaigns of his life. The campaign ended with the capture of Delhi. The city was one of the wealthiest in the region. Its fall sent shockwaves across Asia. The victory brought immense riches to Timur's empire, but it also strengthened something even more powerful than wealth: his reputation. The message was clear. Distance offered no protection. Wealth offered no protection. No ruler could assume they were safe from Timur. His empire had expanded, but his legend had grown even faster. Timur's ambition was larger than geography itself. Chapter 8. Clash of Giants. Timur and Bayezid. By the beginning of the 15th century, two extraordinary rulers dominated the horizon. In the east stood Timur, master of Central Asia, Persia, and vast stretches of Eurasia. In the west stood Bayezid I, the Ottoman Sultan known as the Thunderbolt. Both men were ambitious, both men were feared, both believed destiny favored them. For years, their influence expanded toward one another. Eventually, there would be room for only one dominant power in Anatolia. The collision was inevitable. History had placed two storms on the same path, and neither intended to move aside. In the summer of 1402, the armies met near Ankara. The battle would become one of the most important confrontations of the medieval world. Timur's experience, strategy, and careful preparation proved decisive. As the fighting continued, Bayezid's position weakened. By the end of the battle, the Ottoman army had collapsed. Bayezid himself was captured. The consequences were enormous. The Ottoman Empire entered a period of crisis and uncertainty. Across the Islamic world, rulers watched in disbelief. The seemingly unstoppable Thunderbolt had been defeated. For Timur, Ankara became one of the greatest victories of his life. It was proof that even the most powerful ruler of the age could fall before him. Timur didn't defeat an ordinary king. He defeated one of the most powerful rulers in the world. But Timur's greatest weapon was never simply the size of his army. It was the way he thought about war itself. Chapter 9. The Master of Movement. Many rulers believed victory belonged to the strongest army. Timur believed victory belonged to the best prepared army. Before launching a campaign, he gathered information. Scouts traveled ahead, messengers carried reports, spies observed enemy movements. Timur studied roads, rivers, mountains, weather, and supply routes. He wanted to know everything. For him, war was not chaos, it was calculation. By the time his armies appeared on the horizon, he often knew more about his enemies than they knew about themselves. This was the secret behind many of his victories. He fought with knowledge before he fought with steel. Timur's armies were famous for their mobility. They could cross enormous distances with remarkable speed. Enemies often expected him in one place, only to discover he had appeared somewhere else entirely. He used deception, he used surprise, he used movement as a weapon. Sometimes he retreated to draw an enemy forward. Sometimes he attacked from an unexpected direction. Sometimes he waited until fear and uncertainty weakened his opponent from within. Timur understood a simple truth. The army that controls movement often controls the outcome of war. His soldiers carried weapons, but Timur carried something even more powerful: the ability to think faster than his enemies.
Timur's greatest weapon was not his sword. It was his ability to think, move, and adapt faster than his enemies. Yet even the greatest conquerors eventually begin thinking about something beyond war. How should an empire be ruled? What principles should guide a ruler?
Chapter 10. The Principles of Timur. History remembers Timur as a conqueror, a commander, a builder of empires. But Timur did not believe an empire could survive through military victories alone. Conquest could create an empire. Only order could preserve it. Centuries later, a collection of writings known as the Institutes of Timur would describe the principles associated with his rule. Whether every word came directly from Timur himself remains a matter of debate, but the ideas are revealing. Discipline, justice, loyalty, organization. Timur believed a ruler should know his commanders, reward service, punish betrayal, and maintain strict order throughout the state. To him, power was not chaos. Power was structure. An empire without discipline was simply an army waiting to collapse. According to the traditions associated with Timur's rule, loyalty was one of the foundations of power. Bravery was rewarded, competence was promoted. Service to the state mattered. Timur understood that fear alone could never sustain an empire forever. Men might obey out of fear, but they followed willingly when loyalty was recognized and success was rewarded. His vision of leadership combined strength with discipline, authority with responsibility, power with organization. Perhaps this is how Timur wished to be remembered, not only as the conqueror who defeated kings and sultans, but as the ruler who transformed conquest into government. A man who believed that lasting power required rules as well as victories. Timur wanted to be remembered not only as a conqueror, but as a ruler capable of creating order from conquest. But even the most powerful ruler cannot escape time. After decades of victories, Timur prepared for one final campaign, a campaign he would never complete. Chapter 11. The Final Campaign. The Last Dream. China.
By the beginning of the 15th century, Timur had achieved what few rulers in history ever could. He had defeated kings, crushed rival empires, built a capital that dazzled the world, and reshaped the political map of Eurasia. For many men, that would have been enough. For Timur, it was not. Even in his late 60s, he was preparing for another great campaign. His target was China. The mighty Ming Empire stood beyond the eastern horizon, rich, powerful, and distant. For Timur, the campaign promised one final opportunity to expand his legacy, one final challenge, one final conquest. The old conqueror was preparing for war once again. But this time, Timur faced an enemy he could not defeat: time. In the winter of 1405, while leading his army eastward, Timur fell ill near Otrar. The campaign stopped, the march slowed, and the man who had spent decades conquering the world finally reached the end of his own journey. He died before reaching China. The final campaign remained unfinished. Yet even in death, Timur left behind an empire stretching across vast regions of Asia. His armies would stop, his voice would fall silent, but his name would endure. For generations, rulers would study him, historians would debate him, and entire nations would remember him. The conqueror who seemed unstoppable had finally been stopped by the one force greater than kings, armies, and empires: time itself. Timur conquered kingdoms, cities, and empires, but even he could not conquer time. Who then was Timur? A visionary? A destroyer? A military genius? Or one of history's most feared rulers? His legacy remains as complex as the empire he built.
Chapter 12. Legacy. Monster, genius, or emperor? The Many Faces of Timur. Few historical figures leave behind a legacy as complicated as Timur's. To some, he was a brilliant military genius, a master strategist who built one of the most powerful empires of his age. To others, he was a ruthless conqueror whose campaigns brought destruction to countless cities. In Central Asia, many remember him as a nation builder and a symbol of strength. Elsewhere, he is remembered for war, conquest, and fear. Both images survive. Both are part of his story. The truth is that Timur cannot easily be placed into a single category. He was not merely a hero. He was not merely a villain. He was something far more complex. A man capable of extraordinary achievements and extraordinary destruction. More than 6 centuries have passed since Timur's death. Empires have risen, empires have fallen, borders have changed, dynasties have disappeared. Yet the name of Timur remains. His victories are still studied, his strategies are still discussed, his buildings still stand. His story continues to spark debate. Was he a visionary ruler, a military genius, a ruthless conqueror, or all three at once? Perhaps that is why history still remembers him, because Timur forces us to confront a difficult truth. The people who change the world are rarely simple. They leave behind both admiration and controversy, both glory and suffering, both greatness and fear. And few rulers left a shadow larger than Timur. Timur's greatest legacy was not the empire he built, but the debate he left behind. More than 600 years later, the empire is gone, the armies are gone, the battles are over, but the name remains. And as long as history is remembered, the shadow of Timur will remain with it.